Of October 3rd, 2023. I guess we have to have call to order and roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnstone?
Here.
Councilmember Riggs?
Here.
Councilmember Thompson?
Here.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Weber?
Here.
Vice Mayor Smith?
Here.
Mayor Pittman?
Here.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. We'll all go into closed session. We'll be back promptly.
Oh, got a full house, huh?
Did we get everything?
Yes.
You'll tell me later.
Yeah.
I'll try to refresh your luck with Kelly. She didn't know what you were doing. It's all right. Go look at the internet, then come back here. No, how are you? No, nothing about it.
Yeah. NHA guys online. We're good as panelists.
Awesome. Jesus.
We're all here.
Well, I'm just glad that.
You're my 440? Oh. We're back in order here. We finished closed session, information received, and direction given. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Thompson, would you lead us?
Sure.
Oh, no, excuse me. We have guests tonight. I forgot. Yeah, wait a minute. Hold on. Ooh, yes. No way. Yes, keep going. You got it.
All right, thank you for having us. I have two students from our student council from Ophir Elementary who'd like to lead you today.
Go ahead.
My name is Ben, and saying the Pledge of Allegiance helps form a connection to our country, the United States of America. We are a country of a diverse population. Saying the Pledge of Allegiance instills a sense of patriotism for all people.
My name is Zoe. When we say Pledge of Allegiance, we honor the flag and everything it represents. We say the Pledge of Allegiance to start our day at school, to begin official meetings or ceremonies, and we honor the flag at special events like ball games.
We would like to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand.
Salute.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's say thank you.
Benjamin. And Zoe. Thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thank
Zoe.
you.
Good job. And thank you to the teacher. I appreciate that. It's a wonderful thing we do. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, Jackie.
Bye, Jackie.
See you later, Kelly.
Look good up there.
Okay, adoption of agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
I'll second. Moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 7 yeses.
All right. Presentations of proclamations. It looks like we have the pension update presentation from our NHA advisors.
Good evening, Mayor Pittman and council members. We have our partners, NHA advisors, on the line to present us an update on our pension obligation for the unfunded liability. The council heard a presentation in January, and this is a follow-up since the actuary reports came out in August. So the council received a lot of not great information. Great information from our consultants, but not from CalPERS.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you all today. My name is Roy Kim. I'm an associate with NHA Advisors. We are the municipal advisor to the city. And so today we're here to provide an update on the city's pension liabilities, and we'll be discussing some of the recent trends that have affected the city's unfunded liability, as well as some considerations for managing these obligations moving forward. So if we move to the next slide, I just want to start by noting that the city does have a $12.8 million unfunded accrued liability, or UAL, with CalPERS, based on the most recent reports that they released this summer. So about $5 million of that is attributable to the city's miscellaneous plan, with the remaining 7.8 to the safety plan. This has increased from about zero when the city did issue its pension bonds back in November of 2021. In conjunction with the strong returns CalPERS had in 2021, the POB did fully fund the city's UAL back then, while achieving this objectives of cost savings while smoothing out the city's future pension payments. However, we do want to note that the poor returns in 2022 of negative 7.5% have brought the UAL back to where it is today. And we do expect the city's UAL to increase further based on CalPERS achieving 5.8% returns in fiscal year 2023. And this is below the discount rate target of 6.8%. So we do expect to see a slight increase to about $14.1 million. We do want to note that the added payments from this change wouldn't impact the city's budget until fiscal year 2025 at the earliest. So at a high level, while the city's pension payments were structured more optimally after the POB, the UAL challenge has returned, and this has been the case for the majority of CalPERS member agencies in California. We'll look to discuss these details further throughout this presentation, but lastly, we do want to note that the city has historically been very proactive in managing pension liabilities, including building up over $4 million of reserves dedicated towards pension costs. And we'll also discuss some of the considerations for managing this asset. If we turn to the next slide, we first wanted to provide a brief refresher on the main types of pension payments the city does make to CalPERS. Firstly is the normal cost, which is the annual cost of providing service for current employees. The second is related to the unfunded accrued liability, or UAL again, which does represent the debt the city has with CalPERS. And so this debt can really be thought as a shortfall between what the city is required to have to meet future benefit obligations and what it currently has with CalPERS. And this debt is charged at a 6.8% rate, and that is being represented by the $12.8 million obligation. If we move to the next slide, we just wanted to provide a quick snapshot of where the city's pension debt payments have been historically and where they're projected to go. And so we do note that we have included both the payments on the city's UAL as well as the past and current pension bonds here. And so prior to issuing the pension bonds in 2021, we can see that the city had already been facing rapidly increasing UAL payments, which had grown in conjunction with the POB from about 1.6 million to 2.5 million by 2021. After the pension bond restructuring, the city's overall payments did drop to under $1.5 million this fiscal year. And this was really on the basis of the restructuring savings and strong CalPERS returns of over 21% in fiscal year 2021. However, as we noted, CalPERS did significantly underperform in fiscal year 2022 with a negative 7.5% return. And that is the bulk of the rationale for the increase back to a $12.8 million UAL for the city. And so, again, we can see that these payments are scheduled to ramp up very quickly and essentially reach the peak levels seen in 2022 before the end of the decade. And so, while the city may be able to budget additional pension cost savings in 2024, we do want to note that these payments will be coming back again very quickly and may even reach higher peak levels. If we turn to the next slide.
Could I interrupt you for a minute, Roy? I wanted to make a comment on slide 5. If
Definitely.
you could go back. So as you can see, the light blue part of the bar, that was our pension obligation bond issuance. And so we figured we're going to level this out. It's going to be easy to budget. We got a great interest rate. And if we do, we knew we were going to have future unfunded liabilities come up. But we thought, oh, we have $4.3 million in a trust fund, and we'll just pay it off every year. Well, our very first year, we went in the whole $12 million. So as you can see, we are not equipped to deal with these investment losses, and when CalPERS does not hit their target. So I really want to point you to 2024, where you see our first year. That is the current budget year, and we're right there on the top of that blue line. And as I told you when I did my budget, when I gave you the budget this year, I told you it was really tight. I budgeted everything that we have. It was really actually hard to balance. And I know I come back and say we have surpluses, but that's because of vacancies. But I want you to see that that was hard to budget with no unfunded liability. Look at the next year. And within 5 years, I'm going to have to find up to $3 million in a payment. So this is really showing you how hard this project is. This problem is impacting all the entities that are CalPERS members, and so I just want you to know that the next 5 years are going to be really tough budget years to try to pay this. So, thank you, Roy.
Yeah, and really quick, Roy, I think that the having that trust in place right now is going to be very much. We had a nice call with this group yesterday, and for our next year's budget, I already taken notes on that. I think we need to be cognizant of that and try to continue to fund that trust. Because again, the idea of that trust fund is when these higher payments come up, we can carve off the top of those. That's the idea of you drawing from that trust. So as much as we can try to keep funding that as well when we do have the resources available, I think it's a wise decision. But this is going to be tonight's not the night to really diagnose and dive into this too deep. I know we will be doing that on the side, but I do think it's something we want to keep in the back of our mind.
Sure. Councilman Goodson has a comment.
Right. This might be a little off topic, and yet again, it is not. What I heard you say is that you will be here with us to navigate this process for the next 5 years.
We have been so proactive. This
Thank
council
you.
has been very proactive about just searching every avenue and every tool that they have shown us and we've used them all. We do everything they say. We pay it, and we get a little discount by paying it in one lump sum at the beginning there. We do everything. So yeah, we're just doing the best we can, and I just have to say we're not as bad off as other cities.
Right.
Thank you, Roy.
I think the observation I have from serving local government for a long time, basically PERS is failing us.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yep.
They're
Bottom line.
failing us, and maybe Roy and Mike can tell us when they're going to ever produce something that makes sense for us. If not, the big question is, do we stay in PERS or do we get out?
We did put the hypothetical termination amount in here, and I think they calculated at 128 to 200 million to get out.
And the reason that's a shocker, it certainly is, but other cities, and I know of those cities that have opted to get out.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting it tonight. I'm just saying that, you keep going after an investment company and they fail you, pretty quick you get to a point where you can't stay with them anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening here. I mean, I think our unfunded liability last year was 0, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And now we're at, what, 12 million? 12.8 million?
And 14
We didn't do
next
anything
year.
wrong. All right. Thank you. Any more questions?
I actually get a comment.
Oh, sure. No. We're not done. I just.
We're not done.
No, with
Go ahead.
that option of opting out, I mean, we'd have to get a loan for that to opt out. I mean, I don't.
Oh, it's a process. I grant you that. I'm just saying that it's.
No,
yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that I don't think that door is shut in my mind. Because, I mean, I'm looking at that, it's going up and then it flatlines. I'm like, yeah, right.
Exactly.
The reality is that could just get even just nightmare. I mean, what it was before we are where we are now was horrible. And this is, let's see, more than double what we were looking at.
Yep, in 1 year.
In one, that's just in 1 year, so why keep riding a horse that's,
Doing the same thing
Yeah,
over
that's-
and over.
Right.
I do have I don't know if Councilman Thompson recalls, but when we got
1.8.
that's how we started $1.8 million deficit. But we had entertained that thought, what if we could find a way to back
Get
out of CalPERS? And back in 2015-16, it was like 83 million unfunded liabilities, and look at where we're at now.
Sure, go ahead.
What happens if the market crashes?
Oh, God.
Then we're all going to have to pay more to make the pension whole, to pay these people that are owed money. So
Sure, go ahead.
that's what's happening, is that it's coming back to all the entities to make up the difference.
Vice Mayor, go ahead.
You're,
Not the revel in other people's pain, but I mean, just with your ear to the ground, what is the conversation? Because this is obviously not unique to Oroville. In fact, I think we've done a pretty good job.
Right.
You know, I sat, with the school board, and we were wrestling with this, smaller numbers, but nevertheless, this is a reality statewide. So what's kind of the rumbling?
They don't say. I mean, we can ask our municipal advisors, but they don't even. It went from negative to positive, but if they don't hit their mark, that's still actually a negative. So it's just all over the board every year. You can't really tell.
If they have an investment return, it's at 6.8%. And what they have done in the last few years is lowered their expectations. But then when they lower expectations, then our costs obviously are higher. But if they don't meet those expectations, they're banking on getting 6.8% returns. If they don't get that, or if they get this, I think they got 7.5.
5.8.
But even in the year of 7.5, it seemed like good returns, right? But it's if you're expecting 6.8, that's kind of right on target. So,
Yeah, I guess that to me, the irony of it all is that the public sector is relying on the private sector for their return on investment, and I just find that just fascinating. Here we are.
Okay. Any more questions we'd like to, did you? Well,
actually,
go ahead.
so could you just, I know we talked about this before, but just an idea of getting out, could we at least look in, how much time would it take to really look into?
I'll look into it.
Could you look into it?
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll bring some information back on that.
Just so we have tools in our belt, information
Yeah,
to make
maybe
decisions.
somebody else has already done it. So yeah.
I just wanted to add one more comment to that point about the government sector relying on the private sector, but yet the public sector, the retirement is much better. Typically, the earnings are much better, and yet we're reliant upon the private sector. So there is, I think, from a lot of people's from the public's perspective, that needs to mesh up better. And then so we're going to continue to spiral, I think, as a society, ultimately as a state, until more corrections are brought. I know there's been some steps toward that, obviously, with the the changes with the CalPER program and all of that, but there needs to be more that's done with that, because until there is more of an alignment, this is just going to continue to go south. Because you have to, the public and the private sector have to mesh with those benefits. Otherwise, it's disproportionate, and it's not sustainable in the long run. We're going to crash and burn.
Right. I really felt like I needed to bring that to your attention, because I had such a hard time budgeting this year. And then to try to budget these additional payments that are ramping up, it's going to be a challenge for all of us.
Okay. Shall we continue? I think we can. We just lost the screen for a moment.
Can you see the screen now?
Not yet. There we go. We're good.
Okay, great. So we're turning to this next slide. I think we just want to step back a bit in time and give a brief overview of what happened in the 2021 pension bond process. What was the rationale for issuing that bond at the time, and what were the objectives there? And so, as stated, these were issued back in the fall of 2021 when market rates were significantly lower than they are today, and the city was able to restructure its UAL at a 3.21% interest rate. And so just as a general rule of thumb, in the long run, typically a pension bond will see long-term savings if the borrowing rate is lower than the CalPERS discount rate. The flip side is that the sensitivity to CalPERS returns is enhanced in the earliest years after the bond is issued. And this is because the proceeds that are sent to CalPERS are then subject to future rates of return. And so in the city's case, CalPERS did post a poor return in the fiscal year after the bond was issued. However, as we'll show in future slides, the city's pension payments in the near term are still quite a bit lower than if the city hadn't issued the pension bond. And so if we turn to the next slide, we just wanted to add some more detail on the strategy of the pension bond issuance. These were issued with a 19-year term at a 3.21% rate, and this projected about $4.8 million of long-term savings at the time. And so again, the structuring goals really were to take advantage of the lower interest rates to achieve cost savings, but also really just to restructure the payments with a more predictable and level payment shape. As you can see in the chart, the bars represent the projected payments at the time of the old POBs and the UL payments. And what we tried to do was really reshape those into a payment structure that was more level and predictable and budget friendly. And so if we move to the next slide, here, going back to the earlier conversation, we wanted to just provide some details on what the city's pension situation looks like currently versus if it had not issued the pension bonds. And so in the chart to the right, I think the main areas of focus include the purple line, which depicts the projected payments had the city not issued the pension bonds. And the stacked bars are representing the total payments the city is currently making. And so really the gap between those two, the purple line and the top of the gray bars, represents the projected savings to the city from doing the pension bonds. And so we can see on a relative basis, there are going to be annual savings for the next 12, 13 years. There will be a slight increase in payments in the back end from 2036 to 2040. But overall, we see that the payments are relatively lower in the near term. But as you can see, the objective challenge of the returning UAL still exists for the city, in addition to many other public agencies. That being said, we want to kind of go back and mention that the city does have a significant resource available to it in the form of its pension section 115 trust. And so this trust has a balance of $4.3 million. This money is only eligible to make payments for pension and OPEB costs, but the city does have the ability to access higher rates of return with the provider than other funds that may be restricted by the government code. And so while there are many options the city has to address these costs, we did want to share one as a concept that relates to the city's strong reserves. And this is the idea of continuing to build a 115 trust balance and in the future make withdrawals to basically help alleviate these future cost increases. And so if we turn to the final slide on 9, we try to depict this, what we call section 115 smoothing concepts in a bit more detail. And so, for example, if the city were to increase contributions to the trust over the next couple of years, perhaps totaling 1.7 million, the city would be able to start drawing down on the trust to help offset payments starting in fiscal year 2028. And so if you look at the chart, that level in 2028, the orange lines represent essentially what the effective payments would be once you take the withdrawals into consideration. And we can see that that level is actually approximately where the city had been paying payments in 2022. And so essentially the idea is that the city would have the flexibility to manufacture a payment level that is one lower than the projected peak in payments, but also more consistent for the budget. And so one thing I do want to note is the city would not necessarily need to contribute a full 1.7 million to achieve this structure. With lower contributions, these payments could still be smooth, but perhaps at a slightly higher level. And so really just to conclude, we do see the city being in a good position to manage future cost increases, given its past historical actions and the current pension trust balance. But of course, given how quickly the payments on the UL are starting to ramp up, we do recommend that the city continues to monitor the situation and consider proactive strategies where applicable. And so we want to thank you for your time and look forward to answering any questions.
Any questions, Council? I appreciate that. It's a difficult and complex subject, and your graphs were very helpful, so thank you, Roy. That was very informative for Council. Councilman Johnstone.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation. I just wanted to make sure that I understood. You were saying one of the last slides was 956,000 per year instead of the 1.7 million I think you were talking about. Can you explain that a little bit more? If we invest that much per year over the next few years, it'll balance out in the back end. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, Matt, do you mind pulling up the slide again?
Yes, please.
Yes, 1 second.
Great. Yeah, so the 956,000, that relates to the orange line there. That's effectively the net payments a city would be making, assuming it would start drawing down on the balance over time. So essentially the idea is the balance, the deposits would grow over time due to compounding investment returns. And so you can see under our assumptions, we're assuming 5% long-term investment returns. This is fairly consistent with what we've seen for a moderately risky portfolio for various Section 115 trust providers. And so, making this assumption, we model out what the potential optimized payment structure could be if you wanted to utilize the full potential of the trust and make withdrawals. And so, essentially, what we want to show is that this will achieve long-term savings. So, in the second bullet, the second sub-bullet there, we show that there's about $4.5 million of projected cumulative savings, net of deposits. So that takes into account the fact that about $6 million would be contributed to the trust, but based on compounding returns, the total drawdowns might approach closer to 10 million. And so essentially, you would be able to see about $4 million of savings over time. And so that's what we're trying to show here. I'm hoping that answered your question, but if not, happy to clarify further.
Yes, thank you. Ruth, is that doable?
Yeah, but if we have 4.3 in our trust, you can see how long that's going to last. So we're going to be in trouble on the 5th year.
Yeah. Thank you.
Vice Mayor
Yeah,
Smith?
yeah. One point I want to add there is that this is just an example we showed. If you had the capacity to, fully leverage the trust, if you're able to put in an extra 1.7, this is what it could do for you. But of course, I think having 4.3 already is very helpful. And I think the idea is if you were not able to make any more contributions, I think you would still be able to achieve the smoothing, but then that orange line would just be a bit higher. And so maybe it wouldn't be as low as 1 million, but maybe closer to 1.2 or something like that. So here we just kind of want to show an example in the event that, it was feasible to contribute more, but that's not the only approach with this strategy.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is, again, just an observation regarding community discussion, and it revolved around our rebranding. And this is why it's so absolutely vital to our community. Part of that conversation within the public, why do we want to grow? Well, that's one of the things that we can do as a community, economic development. Because we're not going to be able to, borrowing, changing and coming up with $200 million to buy out CalPERS and find another program that may or may not be better. I mean, that's a gamble in and of itself. I mean, it sounds good on one level. Well, let's just buy that out. Let's, I guess we could do bonds. And buy that out and find. But are we going to find something that's better? Maybe not. But one thing we can do as a community is economic development. We can grow, we can prosper as a community, we can raise that bar, and then these things will become more digestible and easy as a community. So, to answer one of the comments on social media, why would the city want to grow? Well, we have declining ADA in our schools, which makes that more challenging, and they have the same problems that we're discussing here, our parks, the city. This is why having a vital economy and economic development is absolutely critical for Oroville's future. And yes, we can do it, and yes, we can walk and chew gum.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else?
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. It was helpful and enlightening and encouraging and also depressing all at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you for having us.
All right.
Thank you.
No. Next item, public communication, hearing of non-agenda items. Do we have any
Mr. Mayor?
slips? Yes.
We did have one person who'd like to comment
Oh,
on that
okay.
item.
Yeah, go right ahead, please.
Okay, we have Brian Wong.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the City Council. I just want to speak on this issue because issues of investments always come across my mind. So looking at, what we're trying to do for the city is what, I think we need to understand that on the assumption here, and most financial institutions, they make certain assumptions. So the assumption is that we're going to have compounding growth, which is a very rosy picture. And it's been happening for, like, say, a couple of decades, and that's the picture. But then the question that I have to ask is, well, what if the contrary happens? What if the market dips? So then the question is, well, we got to have the worst case scenario in the plan also, because if we don't plan for that, and then that happens when you're using leverage or if you're expecting, compound growth, it also works the other way. So the question is, well, what is the answer that we need for that scenario? So then if that scenario does happen, the city can pivot quickly. And the quicker we pivot, then the better results are for the city of Oroville. The cities that are not going to be doing that, they're going to be caught behind. So that's just a viewpoint that I saw. So
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think I'll add to the argument too, or it's not really an argument, the discussion is the reason PERS is failing is the California legislature is dictating what they can invest in.
Right.
And because of that, now we're all behind the curve. And they have a large listing of things that the CalPERS can and cannot invest in. And that's one reason our trust is doing well, because it doesn't have the same rules. So appreciate the discussion. Any more?
No, thank
Not
you.
on that one.
Okay. Next item then again would be public communication, hearing of non-agenda items. Do we have any slips?
It looked
Oh, I'm
like-
sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, Ruth, from what Brian was saying, do we have a worst case scenario put in place for that, or is that something that we can come up with?
A worst case scenario as far as
The market does dip, or, if CalPERS doesn't perform as we're hoping it will.
I'm not sure what the plan is, because we would be part of every entity in California, and I know there's entities that are far, far worse off than us. So no, I haven't heard of any like backup plans or plan Bs, but it's very disappointing that they can't hit their investment return. So I think this is an ongoing problem. It's really bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely, as Ruth was saying, if you compare us to other jurisdictions, you guys have done a great job over the last few years, and we're in much better shape. Now, with that said, I think we still have to keep an eye on it every single year, as they were mentioning. The trust is a great resource, but as Ms. Rong said, if the trust doesn't get 5% returns every year, then it's sitting in the bank, and we're going to have $4 million in 5 years instead of $6 million, or whatever we hope to get. So I think we have to keep our eye on it, and obviously we have to, if we can find a way that our trust continues to grow. Obviously, the market is somewhat out of our control, but continue to fund that trust. 'Cause that's going to help us carve off those high years. So I think it's just something we have to keep an eye on every single year.
I think I won't be very popular for saying this, but I think there would probably be adjustments to retirees' benefits.
Yeah, and ultimately, CalPERS has done that, but that's if you notice on that curve how it drops out in what's, I think, 2030-ish, because again, that's when the classics start to retire, and then the new pension reform folks are in the system who have a different formula that is less costly. So there is a long-term plan. So the bottom line is we need to get through the next 10 years, 8 years. That's going to be the spike. But we're still, we're at the mercy of the market, and so is CalPERS, and hopefully they make wise investment decisions.
So we're just going to keep watching it super close?
Yeah, we're just going to monitor the situation for now. And
Just for the public consumption, just explain that real quick, the classic versus like with Pepra now. And so that's the difference. And that's why when you get out there at 2030, 2040, that's why, because we have made some of those adjustments that I was alluding to with more aligned with the private sector, with benefits and retirement.
Yeah, the pension formula's changed for those hired after 2012, so they're at a significantly lower benefit formula than those that were hired before 2012 have. So the costs associated with those are lower as well.
And the retirement date got extended
Yep.
too because of life expectancy.
Yeah. So there is the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a ways out there.
Yep.
Always.
Councilman Goodson's on the queue.
Yes, I was just noticing as a part of, while we're discussing this and Councilwoman Johnstone opened it up, I think we all appreciate the wisdom and the expertise from our business owner, multiple businesses, and I watch your expressions, and I just wanted to know, was there an additional thought that you had when Councilwoman Johnstone had mentioned something, because I noticed your eyebrow go up, and I want to know what that was.
Yes, I just appreciate, Councilman Johnstone raising the question because she feels that something is not right, and that's the first step in resolving the issue. Because we know that something is not right, we can formulate the solutions and pivot. And when we talk about like the financial sectors, a lot of times we don't major in that area, or we haven't made investments in those areas, so we defer our choices to professionals. But then the thing is, professionals, whether they're in the finances or even engineering, when they do a set of calculations, there is a set of assumptions, and you have to understand what those assumptions are. Because they're assumptions. If the assumptions are correct, then the results are going to be predictable. But, you have those cases when the assumptions are off, when we have a market correction, then that's not part of the assumption. So then the question is, well, in that case, how do we address that? And for the cities that has a contingency plan that knows how to pivot, then we're going to come out of any recession or depression, whatever it may be, a lot quicker. We're going to do a lot better off than other communities. But if you don't have a plan, then when you get there, you just panic. And there's no solution at that time. So you waste time panicking, trying to formulate solutions instead of having a plan already. And this is kind of like beyond the discussion here, but there are certain signs in the market that's saying that something is wrong. So there's like certain yields, like whenever the 10-year yield, when you borrow people's money for 10 years, they actually pay you a lot more than the short term. Anyway, it's called a yield inversion. Whenever that happens in the past, we've had market crashes. So back in 2008 and before, every time we've had that, we've had a crash. So lately, we haven't had that yet, but then again, the government's injected a lot of money into the system. So with that said, that's my view on it. I'm not a financial planner, but that's kind of like the things that I see. So I just want to kind of like express that.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
You know what they say, those who fail to plan to fail.
right.
Yeah, and so you plan for the worst and hope for the best.
So we appreciate your accountability to us and for us.
All right. Any other cards? No? Okay. Well, then, information received, and again, appreciate the presentation, and we have more to come, I'm sure. Ruth has got a lot of work on there over there. Public communication, hearing of non-agenda items. Do we have any slips?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We will begin with Bill Spear and follow it with Steve Christensen.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, I got a pretty good plan. It says Romans 10:17, consequently, faith comes through hearing the message, and the message heard through the Word of God. I was thinking about that this morning, and you get to come in 3 minutes twice a month equals over an hour in a year, and it's a sermon at the church. And so as our faith grows, we hear the message. And there was a verse today that come on my Bible app, and we'll get a double verse. It says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. For his compassion never fails. They are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. So I believe that prayer does change things, and that our city is a lot better off than a lot of other places because of the prayer that's going on in our city and all of the churches that are coming together as one. And so I'm going to continue to pray for you all, for wisdom and for guidance and for supernatural provision, supernatural healing, supernatural. So Father God, we thank you for your word. And Lord, let our faith grow. Let us have great faith to believe, Lord, that, Lord, even though the fire comes, that we will not be burnt and the flood will not overtake us. We declare your word that it will not return void, but it will accomplish what you have sent it forth to do. That as we humble ourselves and pray and repent, that you will hear our prayers and heal our land. And Lord, our land needs healing. And we pray that you would, we pray your blessings upon the mayor and the vice mayor, all the city council, for our police and fire. And Lord, thank you for Ruth and her diligence and the wisdom that you give her. And we pray that you would just continue to open up the spillway from heaven, the floodgates, and let our city be that city on a hill. Let it be that light on a shelf. Let it be that example for all the other cities. Let's go see what Oroville is doing. And Father, your word does say that if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously without finding fault, and it will be given. And so we're thanking you ahead of time before it comes. We're thanking you for the next report that is going to, that it's not like going up to the casino and hoping for the best. It's going to our God, who is God of the universe, who has a plan, who prepared good works in advance for us to walk in. We love you. We praise you. We give you all the glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Up next, we have Steve Christensen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to inform you today I dropped off my third letter requesting an apology from Mayor Pittman. He sent me a letter back on the 11th that was slanderous, insulting, and untruthful, and I do not tolerate it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Up next, we have Alan Dykes.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, I'm just here real quick to inform you of an event that we're having for the Oroville Rescue Mission. I want to formally invite each and every one of you to this. It's called Denim and Diamonds. It's going to be a nice night out. It's going to be up at the convention center, and we will be having live music and barbecue and all sorts of stuff. And we're just trying to set it up for a nice little couples night out. So I will hand you these flyers, and if you would just kind of pass them on, I would appreciate that. But we'd like to see each and every one of you there.
Can you announce the date and time on the
Yes.
videos or the audio so we know it?
Yeah, it's going to be October 19th, 6 to 9 p.m. at the Oroville Convention Center.
Thank you, sir.
Can I just pass these out?
Yeah, sure.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Clarification, for couples only?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You already got one. So, I've got them already.
All right.
Oh, it's denim. I thought it
All
said
right.
denim.
Thank you, Alan. Any more cards?
Diamonds.
That's all we have, Mr. Mayor.
All right. The next item is council announcements and reports. Council, any reports or announcements? Councilman Riggs.
Thank you. I wanted to share on behalf of the Downtown Business Association that they are hosting their annual Farm to Table Dinner this Saturday, the 7th, and tickets can be found on their website, downtownoroville.com or .org. Sorry. And that event is actually a fundraising event that supports the First Friday events and, most importantly, a lot of the holiday events, including the tree lighting and other community building activities. So although it is a lovely night out, dining on the street on Myers with locally prepared food, really a great evening, but also gives back to the community through supporting their efforts with those holiday events. Thank you.
Oh, Councilman Goodson, I guess, in the queue too. I didn't.
Yes, you know, I I apologize for not discussing this earlier with Councilwoman Riggs, but I was in the vicinity of, which I frequent enough to know when there's ruminations about high traffic areas over by Oroville High School. And I noticed that there was a iron fence. I mean, it's iron. Somebody had plowed into. So as I asked around, neighbors were talking about, the speed, the traffic. They talked about moving. They have asked, what can we do? And I said, well, I'd like to see it on the agenda. Let's bring back what we have discussed a while back. And I said that I would ask Councilwoman Riggs if she would be a second on that item.
Yeah, absolutely would. And I know traffic calming measures are necessary really throughout the community. That particular instance also took out a electricity pole, which of course adds to our utility expenses, and I would say absolutely traffic speeds are a concern in many neighborhoods.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Vice Mayor Smith is on cue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just want to thank all the participation in this past week's Salmon Festival. By all measures, it was a great success. Last year, we had over 12,000 people come to Oroville. We haven't done that compilation as of yet, but by all measures, it seems like it was even better than previous year. But I just want to thank the city and the different departments that had a presence, support from the city in seeing this event move forward. I think that Oroville really has a great opportunity to see this event and others like it to be more regionally oriented, in that means that we bring people from, whether it's the Bay Area or even other states. And of course, I had reports that people were from, wide and far, which is good. Back to economic development. It's good for our businesses. It's good for our hoteliers. It's just good to be able to have that type of an opportunity. So it's a great relationship with the Fish and Wildlife, with the hatchery, DWR. There's a lot of other agency support for Oroville for us to put our best foot forward. And I think we rolled out the carpet. So I just want to thank all those various agencies. Feather River Parks District was a great partner as well. And I'm probably missing some, but I just want to again thank everyone for I think a good year, a good event, and we're going to be bigger and better next year. Thank you.
And good job, and thank you and the chamber for all of the hard work in facilitating it.
Thank you.
And kudos to Father's House. I really like squirting people with the yellow chalk. It's a great turnout.
And yeah, I saw just on that too. So the Father's House, they did of course the color run. They've stepped up and filled that void, and also with our kids zone. And then Jordan Crossing, I'm telling you what, there are so many moving pieces to an event of this size. In fact, that's one of the digestibles is that, with the crowd size that we have, it's really becoming a challenge with volunteerism. And, while all of our service agencies are kind of shrinking and challenged, man, I'm telling you what, there's a lot of head scratching and planning starting now. But I just want to really give a big shout out to Jordan Crossing. Thank you very much. You guys really stepped it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Who's next? Councilman Johnstone.
So I just wanted to comment on our tour of Pacific Coast producers. That was an amazing tour. I thank you to who was it that
Adam?
Yes.
Paul
Fairbanks.
Paul Fairbanks.
Paul Fairbanks, yeah. I don't know if you've been to Pacific Coast Producers and toured their facility. I had no idea the amount of automation that they have and just the moving parts that goes on in that. And not only that, but they do so much community service. They take care of their employees. They are a great asset to this community. I encourage you to go and tour their facility. It's a great opportunity for Oroville. They are looking for high help. Yeah, they're looking for help, basically, right? So if you know anybody that wants to work and in the produce industry, Pacific Coast Producers is hiring and they need our help. So I just wanted to publicly
Good
thank
point.
them.
And just FYI, they are no longer manufacturing gel fruit cups. There's not a high demand, which,
Yeah.
you know,
But
my
fruit
husband's a
cocktail.
connoisseur, and that was really a letdown when he says,
Councilman Weber is up next.
Yeah, thank you. I think that both of those things that were just brought up were excellent. The tour was great. I do want to give credit to Eric for his efforts with the Salmon Festival. Just a phenomenal event to see it grow for those of us that have been around since the beginning, way back when, and it was like pretty much nothing to what it is now. It's just like you just really did a great job. So I had a blast down there all day long, super fun. But also I wanted to acknowledge Council Person Janet Goodson and Pastor Kevin Thompson for the work and I thought you might have.
Operation Live On.
Yeah, there you go. Would you like to talk about it?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just wanted to acknowledge the work that they're doing with this. It's a community event that they've been facilitating. That we just had part
Two phases.
Two phases, and we're going to do
There'll
a
be a
third
third.
phase. But this is fentanyl awareness. right?
Fentanyl awareness.
Yeah. So why don't you jump in and just say what it's about?
You know, Butte County has been hit hard with fentanyl. One of the hardest counties hit. I don't know if it's because it's the corridor, but it's a problem. It's an epidemic. And so Pastor Kevin Thompson, he had shared that recently, probably within the past year or two, he has lost 3 family members. And I think we can all know, whether we read it or we heard about it or it's in our own families or neighborhoods where we know someone. And so it is a part of the educational awareness. We had about 2,500 Narcan kits with fentanyl test strips on hand. We dispersed throughout the community. Despite the weather, we all came together. We thank Bill's not here. We heard from our chief. We heard from Mike O'Brien, Bintef, I believe, Aegis, Behavioral Health, our hello, Pastor Bill. Yours truly back there in regards to residential treatments and how people can get the help that a family member or themselves needs. It was a free barbecue, and we thank you for the council people that came out, and it's just going to get bigger and better. And now I'm going to turn it over to you because the third phase is going to be.
Well, yeah, thank you. We're going to actually do, and so I'm happy to announce that we're going to form a partnership, and we're going to be working on doing a phase 3 right down here.
Downtown.
Yeah, and we're going to be looking to do it at the convention center, and it'll be the same thing. It'll be service providers there, barbecue, and then with some keynote speakers. And I think this is an excellent thing for us to get behind as a community. These numbers, every 11 minutes, we're losing a person to fentanyl overdoses in the United States. Some 100,000 a year. So this is not going away, and it's only going to amplify. So, so yeah, thank you for inviting us, and thank you for the good work.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And if anybody needs a Narcan kit, I have several in the back of my vehicle. The life you save may be your neighbor's or your very own family member.
Bingo. And the last thing is to be announced on the date, right? We
Yes,
don't have
to
a
be.
solidified
It's in
yet.
November, but to be announced.
Sometime in November, but we'll get it back out, and this is gonna be an excellent community event for us to get behind. So.
And Pastor Bill, we'll need more of those brochures, those 3 trifolds. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? I don't see anybody in the queue.
Are we adjourned?
I want to. I have a quick mention that the Oroville High School Superintendent William Brown has a parent involvement dinner coming up on October 9th out at the multipurpose room at 6 p.m. And they're really trying to encourage more parent involvement with the high school kids.
Yes.
Susan and I attended the homecoming game last Friday, and the kids were trying, they're striving, but I just didn't see a lot of parent involvement. So if any of you know parents that have kids in high school, tell them to get to this dinner and get some help to try to help to encourage more parent involvement, because it really needs to happen. And I certainly recommend, and it's a great idea for the William Brown, the superintendent, to put this on. And it'll be out at Los Plumas High School's multipurpose room, October 9th at 6 p.m. Councilman Weber.
Yeah, when I just noticed the chief is now in the room, and I wanted to invite him to speak a little about their involvement with the fentanyl awareness as well. So
okay.
Thank you, Councilman Weber and Council. I think fentanyl has hit Butte County hard. Just to make you aware, Butte County is number 7 in all the counties in California of overdoses. I mean, because of this drug that has hit our community. There's various strains of this that are coming into the community. There's a new one now called Trank. If you're not aware of that, I sent you some information a while back on that. But essentially what it is there's a respiratory tranquilizer that's mixed with fentanyl, so that the Narcan now does not appear to be as effective because the respiratory system is essentially tranquilized. So, and it's a nasal spray that the Narcan is, so it's not getting into the system. So it's making it even more challenging. I can tell you your officers almost on a daily basis use Narcan. I mean, it is hitting people, and it is such a powerful drug that's out there, the Fanitol, that the individuals are actually overdosing one day, being taken to the hospital, being treated, leaving against medical advice, and then right back at it the very next day. I mean, so it doesn't, even the specter of death is not enough. So it's a very powerful addictive drug. We have our task force is working diligently on that. They have went as far as the Bay Area to try to interdict this. They're working with the federal DEA. They have a HIDA grant, which is a high intensity drug trafficking agency or grant, so that they're working to prevent the fentanyl from coming to Butte County. So it's a very powerful thing. And what the OSCIA in conjunction with the NAACP did on Saturday is extremely important work. I mean, getting the Narcan out there, you never know when you're going to save someone's life. I mean, that's just, and I would encourage anyone that has that to use it. And I can tell you just a real quick overview is you put it into someone's nose like any other nasal inhaler, you push the red plunger, and then you assess the person. After you'll do your initial assessment, decide there is some sort of distress that is going on. You'll deploy your Narcan. If they're not under the influence of an opioid, no big deal, no harm, no foul. Nothing's going to happen. They might get a bad headache. I mean, but that's going to be about the extent of it. If you don't get the results you see and the respiratory system is suppressed and they're not breathing, begin your compressions and your CPR training if you have it that you know of. So begin that. After 2 to 3 minutes, you give them another dose. What we've been experiencing is 2 dosages aren't enough. We're having to wait on EMTs and paramedics to arrive to push a higher dosage of the Narcan to bring the people out of where they're at. But my advice is don't quit, hang in there, activate and access the 911 system, get first responders responding so that they can help you. And like I said, just never give up. I mean, because you never know. I've seen people that honestly, my level of training is, well, they're dead. Well, that's not the case. Paramedics bring them back. I mean, so because they can push a higher dosage. Our firemen get there and they are much more skilled than we are, and they begin the necessary care for these individuals. The other thing that everyone should be aware of, if you do use it, you're protected by Good Samaritan laws.
Right.
So you are, as long as you're doing something reasonable. I mean, don't act like you're a doctor. Please don't do tracheotomies and things like that. I mean, just stick to the things that you know, and you will be protected under those Good Samaritan laws. But it is a very significant issue. And I say, again, the Narcan that was distributed on Saturday, I think we hit every block in South Oroville. I mean, everywhere. And, I got a good job. Pastor Thompson and I both got really good jobs. Our job was to drive around inside of cars where it wasn't raining and keep giving everybody more so that they can keep giving it out. And the volunteers were there. I mean, they were at it. I mean, I was amazed how fast they got it done and how receptive everyone was to it. So, but anyway, again, very important work, and I really thank them for that.
Could you just share what happened while we were distributing Narcan?
Oh, sure. While we were distributing Narcan, I was listening to the police radio, and there was an individual that was working over at Central Middle School, or the studios now, who reported there was an individual on campus that was rattling doors and was leaning into doors, and the janitor was concerned, or the custodian was concerned, that the person was trying to break into the school. So we go over there, and I go sit in the corner and wait, and just in case the person comes this way. I mean, so, you know, long story short is the custodian gets us onto campus. We contact the individual. The individual's taken into custody when we believe that he was in possession of fentanyl, or it was either heroin or fentanyl, one of the two. So he was taken into custody for being in possession of that on campus, but also the part of the irony of the whole thing is that he was currently serving his sentence on probation for being in possession of controlled substances. So, I mean, just the same day we're doing this, it's right there. It's within, you can see it. I mean, from where all of this happened. So it's a very powerful thing. I mean,
Yes.
it's.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for your
Thank you,
participation.
Council.
Appreciate that. Administration reports, if all the council are done. Yeah, administration.
I just have one quick one. The council back in February approved a wellness program, so to speak, that authorized some costs to be some funds to be spent for gym memberships, and I just wanted to report back
Right.
because I don't think there's been any. We've been doing some analysis to see how much the program is being used. Just a high level, about 30 folks signed up for the program. Out of those 30, the utilization, I think, varies in 3 tiers. You know, one group's using it on a quite regular basis. One's kind of going maybe once or twice a month, and one's set of the group is not using it much at all. So I have worked with NSFit, and we're going to do we're going to re-market the program here within the organization, and have a requirement that employees, if they want to do it, the city council supports this, support the wellness program, and want folks to be healthy, but you need to use it at least one time a week. Otherwise, I want to be cognizant of the funds that are being spent on this. So we're going to re-push it out, monitor it, and I'll report back again in 6 months just to see how the program changes over the next period in time.
Good.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is there any support with the families, or is there reduced, where the family of the employees, obviously they have to pay. Is there anything worked out that way? So I'm an employee of the city, and I'm going down to the gym and staying healthy wellness program, right? Is there any benefit, discount or anything like that to the family to encourage a family participation?
Yeah, we haven't gone down that. What we've been focusing on is the city employees.
The reason why I bring that up is that there might be a better participation if my spouse or my family, those living in my household, you might get a little bump in participation. Just a thought.
Okay.
I've been a member for a long time, way before this program, and they actually have a 7-day pass that you can have credited, that if you want to have one of your family members try it for a while, you can get that at the front counter and just have them sign up if you like. It's a good time. Any other reports?
I know there's.
Yeah. Oh, Bill, sir.
First, I'd like to share our September numbers with code enforcement and its activities. Right now, we have 154 active cases. We closed 99 cases in September and opened up 68 new ones. Of those cases, 19 of them were abandoned vehicles that were abated off of our streets and in private lands. We had 8 building code violations, 11 areas where the graffiti was removed, 6 multifamily cases, 27 public nuisances. And then I'd like to share that my code enforcement team has completed both the Module 1 and Module 2 Academy courses at the California Association of Code Enforcement Officers in Sacramento. Next year, they'll go through the Module 3, and they will be certified code enforcement officers at that point. Okay. So I have 2 that are finishing this week, and the rest of the group have made it through Module 1 and Module 2. My team served a 1 inspection warrant and 2 abatement warrants in September. I really want to thank Colin Huber, and they're as fast as we can ask for them now. The warrants are coming out, and it's really been helpful to address issues immediately. We have one we're going to serve tomorrow, and this is on a residence in Southside where these individuals decided to build an illegal structure on the side of it. The property owner lives in the Philippines, And these guys are just making a mess, and we're going to correct that tomorrow. Yesterday, we had our last meeting before the kickoff of the Clean Streets Grant through the CBDG. And we had our nonprofit partners participate in this grant. It's going to be overseen by me, but ran by the Hope Center. We had individuals from the African American Family Cultural Center there, Jordan's Crossing, Oroville Rescue Mission, Haven of Hope, and Taylor Memorial Church. We got the logistics down, how the program's going to work, how it's going to be managed, and how we're going to address issues out in the streets of Oroville. My code enforcement team had a booth at the Salmon Festival. I can tell you that the turnout was amazing. They provided a lot of information to citizens. We also had our recycling coordinator in the booth with us that provided all the proper trash cans, recycle cans there. Jennifer Arbuckle Associates was there to make sure that things were being recycled properly. And it was a great turnout. I mean, it was pretty amazing. And, it's nice to see or to be able to address people at that venue versus knocking on their door or send them a letter, to educate the public. It really turned out nice. Also, we've been doing sweeps with Butte County Public Health. There are a lot of pop-up food serving places that are showing up in parking lots. I will just warn the public: don't go to those places. The food is not inspected. The cooking areas are not inspected. They don't have a license. The people that are in the food trucks, they're legit. I mean, they've been inspected by public health, by code enforcement. They have business license. These individuals that are showing up on the side of the road serving food, it's not safe. So it's really tough on the individuals that have to have the overhead of running a business or a food truck to have individuals just show up and start serving food and taking business away from them. So we've been doing sweeps, and we've contacted quite a few people, and we're going to continue these sweeps from now on. We built a partnership with Butte County Public Health, and they're great to work with. Also, I was asked to complete an annual report when I did my procedure manual, and we have that report complete, and I have some hard copies that I would like to present to the council. If I can permission to approach the dais.
Sure. Yeah, please do. Please do. That's some good reading. Thanks, sir.
Ron, could you also give us a very quick update in regards to the Basin area, Lower Wyandotte? What a partnership with the sheriff's crew. It looks good.
Yeah.
So the Basin area cleanup, what we're calling it, it's behind Central School and the outlining businesses along Olive Highway. And this is an area where there was a lot of illegal encampments, a lot of, for lack of a better term, weirdos hanging out in areas near the school that needed attention. This project was actually designed by Chief Lagrone. He asked me to partake in it and make sure that it got done. He was able to bring on the Butte County saw crew. These guys are unbelievable workers. We had City Works there. We're doing every Thursday we're there, and Public Works has provided tractors and the chipper, to get rid of a lot of the wood. And it's beautiful back there. We've gotten a lot of compliments. We got compliments during our Clean Streets Grant meeting from multiple partners that it's beautiful to be able to see through there, not see the camps, not see the people loitering there. So that's a really good project, and it's close to being done. It's a lot of work. It's not fun work. We removed I can't tell you how many thousands of pounds of poison oak that Park and Rec was nice enough to haul off for us and put in an area to where we can burn it to where it won't affect the public, because Recology doesn't take poison oak. So it's a great idea. It was a great project, and I think it was a great answer to the individuals that showed up here at the council meeting, concerned about that area in Oroville.
Cool.
And that'll do it.
That's it. Councilman Weber, do you have
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of thank you so much and thank Chief Legron for taking on that project that you guys are. I mean, that's a big, because I was there. You guys gave me a tour of it, and I'm like, man, this is the scope of what you're doing there is a lot, and so. And that is going to go so far to assist those businesses along there and the community as a whole. So I'm just super thankful. And then you also took me, just real quickly, when we were riding around, you took me through Southside and you showed me some of the stuff that Willow was working on. And I remember that particular one right there that, I mean, just absolutely thrashed that 1 yard. What corner of what?
It was the corner of Fort Wayne and Spencer, and that's about a 2.5-year-old case. There was a former code enforcement technician that had that case. And, like I say, some of these cases take a really long time. Yeah. And we're getting better at working with property owners now, and they're understanding that we're not going to go away. We're not going to let the problem sit there. And, I mean, you have to understand, we've towed over 30 vehicles off this property. Yeah. The individual there that was, we had amazing help from the police department, because the individual that was manning that house at the time, he was dealing drugs. He was armed with a handgun on a regular basis. It was crazy. He was a dangerous guy, and the police were there to help us. They stood by with us while we would tow vehicles, and sometimes we were there for hours, and that's tough to do just to make sure we were safe. But it's a great, and that you wouldn't even recognize that house now. It's beautiful. Yeah. And there are several houses like that in Southside. At some point in the near future, I'll do a presentation with some photos just to show you some of the stuff that's been done in Southside, downtown Oroville, and even Thermalito. So.
Yeah, excellent job. You're 100% correct. I mean, that particular property was like, basically, for all intents and purposes, looked like a junkyard, right? And now it's just clean. It's completely clean. So, I mean, what an amazing difference. You guys are doing a great job. And since I was reminded, too, I'm going to go ahead and say that both Pastor Alan Dykes and Ron Belzer are going to be presenting at the Oroville Community Development Coalition meeting this coming up Monday the 9th at the police department, where Chief Legron's very gracious and lets us host it there. But Pastor Alan Dykes has got a presentation he's going to do, and then Ron Belzer is going to do a presentation about what code enforcement's got going on. That's 5:30 at the police station if anybody wants to come next Monday. So.
And just
Thanks,
so the
Ron.
public is aware, the annual report will be posted on our website, so they'll have access to that. They'll be able to see that. We just got to get IT on board, and there's a lot of information, so it takes a little bit to get it on there.
Yeah. Are you done, Mr. Weber? It looks like Vice Mayor Smith is next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just want to really say thank you, Ron, for collaborating with Public Health. We had this conversation several times about a lot of the, for lack of a better way of saying it, rogue on the corners, these various, pop-up food vendors and other types of vendors as well. And it was shared with me that some of these people are being brought up from Sacramento, and as I talk to Public Health, a lot of them, at least they claim to not speak English, so that's very difficult in engagements. So, here we have legitimate businesses that are insured. They've gone through all the steps to ensure public safety and all the permitting, and then we have these pop-ups, and that can be very frustrating for business owners that do it the right way, and then these people are out there doing their thing. And so I just really appreciate you stepping up and collaborating with the county, and that we have just an uptick in cooperation here. I think that's a very good thing, very positive. So I just want to thank you for doing that. You might have some more to say about that, but I also want to point out that in that the Oroville Community Development Coalition that Councilman Weber has been hosting, there was a very engaged individual that was very frustrated with our police department. They feel like they weren't getting adequate response. And they were very frustrated. And I just have to say that the folks that you've gathered together just handled that with great decorum and sympathy and understanding. And then Chief Legron and others stepped up and sought to mitigate some of those concerns. And so then I followed up with the Oroville Professional Facility, and then also another business owner on Oro Dam Boulevard that was expressing a lot of concern. And I'm telling you what, that one particular owner I'm not at liberty to share. I'd love to share, but I didn't ask for permission to share the person's name. But they just went on and just raved about a glowing report, just thanking our chief for stepping up and mitigating a lot of those concerns, issues with homelessness, and just a whole bunch of things that were going on there. And then also some mitigation with the overgrown vegetation that was allowing homeless camps to kind of set up in there, and it was just really causing a lot of frustration with our business community. And so that was shared. And so it's just great to see where you're connecting all the dots and everyone's working cooperatively together. And then you guys are stepping up and making a difference. And so I'm hearing good things, good reports. And then also, I also want to thank Fred Mayo. There was a particular individual very frustrated, and thank you for addressing that as well. And all the new staff that we have. You guys are just doing a tremendous job making a difference and addressing our community. And when people do bring concerns or complaints, you guys are stepping up and really, answering the call. And so I just want to thank you. And I know, you might have your own words to express that way, but it's a good job. And thank you. And we're making you guys are making a difference. Thank you.
No, they really are. And if I may, just for a second, about that individual that showed up, and he was extremely frustrated at the meeting. And I just have to say, for what you just said, I couldn't have been more proud of the response from the individuals in the room and how they addressed him. I mean, it was just excellent, and I'm super proud of that. I'm super proud of the way things went down. And we have there's a lot to be hopeful for in our community. We're working really hard, and you guys are awesome. And I echo the sentiments of Vice Mayor Smith that our city staff is fantastic. You guys are doing great, every one of you. And I'm just pleased to work with all of you. It's a good thing. Thank you very much, you guys.
I want to add a little bbit about public health. They actually came to us, because of the language barrier. And I have 4 employees that are bilingual, both in Spanish and Hmong and other languages. So that's where they needed the help, and it was nice to partner up with them and get past that. And as far as the successes in the city, it doesn't happen with one team or one department. We always lean on the police department. We're always leaning on public works, so it takes all of us to make things happen. It's not just one area.
Okay, looks like we can move forward from the. Oh, sure, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to invite the council.
There you go.
Everybody needs the microphone on. Mr. Mayor and Council, we'd like to invite all of you to Coffee with a Cop tomorrow. It'll be between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. at Mugshots. I mean, it's an opportunity. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 10 a.m. I mean, so, yeah. I have to, just for full disclosure, I won't be in town tomorrow. I have another engagement that I have to be at in Roseville, so there will be cops there. I just won't be available that particular day because of a pre-scheduled appointment. But it is tomorrow morning downtown from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. at Mugshots. I mean, it is National Coffee with a Cop Day, and we like to invite everybody down in the community that can make it and just spend a minute, have a cup of coffee, and have a conversation. I mean, that's always a good thing, I think, for us to do with our community. Just to update you, the flock system is almost completely installed now. We've already been utilizing it without it. Just a real quick funny story is a couple years ago, we took a lot of our cars to auction, and during that auction, a couple of our cars got stolen off of the auction lot, old Crown Vics. Well, somehow or another, they got entered into the system and everything, and so did the license plate. Well, one of the license plates made its way onto one of our cop cars that we're currently using. So yesterday, the flock system identified one of our cop cars as a stolen vehicle, so, which was, kind of funny. I mean, I thought it would be, a good idea just to let it keep going. And then when somebody asked, "Do we know who this is?" No, we've never seen them before. I mean, but anyway, that's been corrected. That plate is now out of the system, and we're moving forward on that. But it is working. It has helped us locate the majority of the stolen vehicles that are currently ongoing out there. We have been having a heck of an issue with that in our community, but we are addressing it with various different ways through adjusting shifts and patrols and utilizing special patrols actually for that to try to hit the hot spots. It's identifying the areas where this is happening at and things like that. It did help us on a drive-by shooting too, identifying the vehicle as being in the area and where the vehicle went. So it has become a useful tool for us so far. Just to update you, last month we made 131 arrests. Of those arrests, the majority of those were misdemeanors. 12 of them were juveniles that were taken into custody. So the officers have been very active. All of the staff has. We've continued our recruitment efforts, Mr. Mayor, and we've attended the Butte County Job Fair trying to recruit for our department. We've also recruited as far as Sacramento and Siskiyou's police academies, trying to bring individuals in, and we're currently planning an MLE hiring event. We're going to do like a one-stop shop type thing. Come on in, drop your application, get interviewed, let us see your personal history statement, make a job offer, and then move forward from there. Right now we have 5 MLE applicants in the process to move them through to get them onto the street, so we're trying to ramp up there as quickly as we can. We're also looking at developing other advertising and marketing campaigns. One of those is you will be seeing a billboard in the next few months that's going to come out on the electronic ones that we're going to be advertising in town, because we are looking for those local individuals that want to explore a career in that. We've also are looking at what would that be to work with Lamar, who owns the billboards, to run that same thing in San Jose. I mean, for those that are in this profession that want to get away from the city life, for lack of a better term, and come to a smaller community. I mean, one that, I can say that this community, my experience has been supportive of law enforcement, whereas maybe, these other communities, not so much. And maybe these individuals are looking for that. So we're going to explore that option as well. We are, if you've noticed too, that our Facebook presence has been much better than what it's been in the past. I mean, I have Kalisa Riley who's doing that for us on a regular basis, and the reason why we're doing that is because we're trying to control the narrative. I mean, as opposed to letting other people write the story for us, dwell on the negative, we're trying to put positive things out every day so that the community does know what we're doing, and they don't have to ask, what are you doing? I mean, so we want to do that. Since we've done that, we've noticed that, or observed a 57.2% increase in social media reach and engagement. So this is, helped us to combat the false information that circulates around. Oftentimes you hear, and some of the things that people say, quite honestly, are laughable, because the only thing that's true is it began in Oroville. Other than that, it veers way off. I mean, so we're trying to get that out there. Just, we want to keep our community informed. I mean, that's, one of the most important things I believe that we can do. With that, I believe that wraps up everything. We'll give you a monthly report with the next council agenda.
Thank you.
And thank you.
I have a quick one as well, if you're...
Sure, go ahead.
This is for some of the projects that we have going on, and I'll keep it short. So we have the Centennial Center project is all complete now. The roof has been finished, and that one's done. The Convention Center interior project is, we had a job walk 2 weeks ago, and we got the schedule yesterday for what's coming up. There's... I'm trying to make some adjustments to save us a little bit of money. I think that we're going to be able to save some money on the projects. And then I think I might have reported this the last time also, that I want to add a couple of things on, because the new doors and the new front will make the old doors look old, so we'll replace those as well. And they're problematic too, the doors that are existing. And so that project should actually get started in about 2 weeks. The Convention Center exterior project, we have, I need to bring the agreement for Melton to council. I'm going to do that to the next council meeting. I wasn't quite prepared to bring it tonight. And we don't know what the costs are going to be at this point, but the construction agreement should happen in early 2024. And we'll bring that back to you all in 2024. In Hewitt Park, I met Melton out at Hewitt Park yesterday with some of the public works crews that are doing the grading. And they're really doing a great job. They had to actually restake some of it because people went out and pulled the stakes. So they had to be surveyed again and restaked. They think that they'll be done next week with all of the grading. And then once all that's finished, they can bring another surveyor out there to look at the site one more time, and then we can start the construction documents to get that ready to go out to bid. So we think that will also come back to council in early 2024 to award a contract to a contractor. And that's all I have for that. I was trying to keep it shorter than the other two guys.
Anyone else, Fred?
There we go. Yes, of course, I can't be over here by myself. I've got a very quick update. Let me start with Maverick because I know that's kind of a point of concern or questioning. Rodriguez Landscaping started their work out there last week, but they were called off and told to stop working by PG&E. There's a shallow, buried, high-pressure gas line out there. PG&E is requiring a standby person while they do any type of excavation near their gas main. They're supposed to resume work again around the 11th of this month, so there's going to be a little bit of pause. They did start some work, but they will be coming back as soon as PG&E has them scheduled in the program. Now, it looks like it's around the 11th of this month. What else? The Portland Loo at Centennial Park is now fully operational. The hand dryer is working finally. We had the locksmith out there today. We had an issue with the lock where you'd open the door, you could push the lock and close the door, then it locks it. And so we were continually going back there to unlock it. We have that repaired now. So the hand dryer works and the locks on the Portland Loo work as they're supposed to be or designed. Bedrock, I'm waiting for PG&E to reissue us a new permit so we can dig and actually run conduit and install the pedestal so we can get electricity to that one. Everything else is pretty much done at that Portland Loo at Bedrock, kind of at the mercy of PG&E right now. So I wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that. Also, we've ordered our crack sealer. Thank you very much for approving the equipment. We're looking at about a 6-week build-out time, so hopefully more updates on that. We've ordered our hot pavement trailer. It's ordered and there's no delivery date for that as well. So, and the paver has been delivered. There's a couple hiccups with it. We have a factory rep coming out, I believe, tomorrow to work on some of the issues that we have, and we should be good to go on that. Just as a real quick snapshot as well, I wanted to share with how many hours of work that Public Works is putting in just a few areas. Between mowing, street sweeping, and watering city trees, we're committing over 480 hours a month on labor of taking care of those three components. And I think that's a pretty interesting deal. And we got 73 potholes filled over the last few weeks, plus doing our support that we best we could for the Salmon Festival. And that's all I have. Oh, the Chinese temple roof is about 95% done. We're waiting for a couple pieces of flashing, and that should be complete. I was speaking with Trover earlier today. We anticipate the manufacturer of the roof to do their final inspection walk on the roof in the next week or so, and then it'll be signed over, and it'll be our roof. So there'll be more updates to follow at the next city council meeting on that. Okay. One other bullet point, I just want to kind of point out to what the sewer folks are doing. This month alone, we've TV'd over 4 miles out of the 60 miles of our sewer main, and we've cleaned about 5 miles of using our backcons. So we've been very active and proactively working on making sure our collection system works. And I promise that's it for now. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. I have to add that Butte County Association of Governments had a meeting last weekend. Fred and his team were there to make presentations. They only had like 2 or 3 weeks to put together some project presentations because the deadline, I think, was September 1st, if I remember right, for them to get in the queue for BCAG future funding. And they did a great job. And BCAG was very, very thankful to see some Oroville projects come there. So they're all requests. You can't get any money unless you request it. So good job in short term getting that put together. The board certainly liked all your projects. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Amy over there.
And real quick on that, special thanks not only to Fred, but our engineer Josh Freitas has really been putting in a lot of time. So I just want to give him some kudos.
Yeah.
He's been doing a great job.
Yeah, I had him introduce himself, and he wasn't ready for public speaking that day.
Yes, I heard him swallow when his name got called up there from across the room. Yes, for sure.
Amy.
Sure. I just have 2 quick updates. The Type 6 fire engine, I got notified yesterday that has reached MTech, and it's getting put into operation. And we'll get weekly updates once it is, and they're expecting a delivery hopefully in February.
Okay.
Nice.
Good.
Also, the Wyandotte Avenue Improvement Project is finishing up, so I don't know if any of you guys have been driving by there at night, but I hear it looks really nice, and I encourage you to go by. Check it out.
Okay. Cool.
I can't be the only one that doesn't go, so I just would like you all to walk by the hall and vote for your favorite carpet.
Oh, okay. All right. I also should mention Jennifer, our recycling lady, made a presentation to the Rotary Club the other day. And it was her first presentation at Service Club, and Rotary's a little tough, but she did a good job. I encourage all of you that have your service clubs to contact her and get an update on the recycling that's coming forward. It's a change in our process, I guess is the word to say. So she did a great job and a great explanation of the new laws that we have to follow, and it's a different world there. So, all right, I think we're done with that. Up to consent calendar. Anyone have any items on the consent calendar to discuss?
Yeah, I gotta recuse myself.
Oh, okay, all right. Anyone else? I'll just, the quick title is the approval of the council meeting minutes of the September 19th meeting, and then accept the grant funding and establish budget for the encampment resolution funding the grant number, which is the final $1.7 million for the Mission Esperanza project, which is a Yahoo there. And then amendment number for professional services agreement, 3439 with Susan Cocum's consulting group for administrative services related to the encampment resolution funding grants. Those are the three items, agenda items. I'm entertain a motion for consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
I second.
Call the roll, please.
Do we have it up on the queue?
There we go. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Okay.
Motion passes with 6 yeses and 1 abstention.
All right. Yeah, let him back in, please. Thank you. Regular business, contract with Next Request. Who has this one?
Yeah, I'll do this, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Next request, this item is a contract with this organization. As I think everyone's aware, public records requests have been on the rise, not only for the city of Oroville, but for many jurisdictions of the state of California. And this software package is designed to provide a very user-friendly public interface, but more importantly, a lot of tools internally that will help make the process more efficiently with routing, tracking, pulling data, redacting data that needs to be redacted. We spend a significant amount of time just on that one component right now, which will pay for itself. So the contract would be for 1 year to give this a try to see how successful it is, and we are very excited about this. I've heard a lot of concerns raised about the public records, and I think this will really help us with that.
Do we have any cards on this session?
We do not.
Okay. Quick comment I'll make. I believe it'll probably save us money in the Mr. Huber's firm, because maybe you can comment on that for us.
Yeah, there's no question. Right now, one of the things that we do is in order to provide public documents, certain information, personal identifying information in many instances has to be blacked out or redacted. And right now it's not necessarily a page by page, experience, but it's not much better than that. It is, it's difficult to do. It's time consuming. And quite frankly, it's money spent that doesn't need to be spent. Mm-hmm. And so this is a system that has built-in features that will it will do an OCR, it will optical character recognition. It'll scan the documents that are entered, mm-hmm. looking for and then you can just do a keyword search and redact everywhere where that word shows up. Mm-hmm. That's difficult to do without software built for that purpose. And so anyway, my hunch is that just that will likely, the reduction of that cost will very likely pay for this software itself. Mm-hmm. Now, between that and some other items, you certainly will pay for it. But I think in redacting costs alone, in 1 year, you will likely reduce the amount by that much. If I'm reading this correctly, yeah,
it's under 10,000.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I was going to say you currently spend ballpark between $500 and $1,000 per month in redacting of documents, and videos, by the way, are difficult as well, and I think this includes video.
I believe there is some
there's a component
ability to blur.
of this, but anyway. The difficulty in videos is every time a face shows up, you can blur it out, And with this type of software, it will follow that face frame by frame by frame, which other software will do. But once that face leaves the frame and then comes back in, then you have to start it over again. With software like this, my understanding is that it will find that face anywhere in any of the frames, even if it goes out and comes back in.
Oh, okay.
So this is one that's used by many public agencies. The savings you will generate from other activities related to this will literally pay for the software.
I appreciate that description. I think the public needs to understand too that when a public records request is made, we can't charge for it.
Correct.
It's all our costs. So if they ask for 100 pages of something, we have to produce it, and we get no reimbursement for it. So this is a really smart, wise investment as far as I'm concerned.
We used to be able to, well, let me back up. We previously had been able to charge 10 cents per page.
Right.
However, the law also states if you have a document electronically, you must produce it electronically. There is no cost for that. There is no cost recovery for the city. There was another point that I was going to make, but anyway,
Well,
this also does
time factor. Yeah.
Yeah, this also does give a portal where members of the public can access. Once we upload them, members of the public can access
It'll be a
them
library.
once they're ready. It'll be like in a library feature.
Okay.
Where now frequently I'm uploading it to Dropbox and I'm sending a Dropbox link to someone because the documents are so voluminous you can't email them.
Right. Okay. Vice Mayor Smith is on the queue.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think anything that we can do to reduce the workload to the staff when it comes to public engagement, that this is a great idea. And then just a question, because there was a conversation regarding the same vein of allowing the public to purchase things like burn permits and other things. So within that process, where are we at? Again, reducing the public's need to, contact directly city staff when it comes to cost savings, and also just providing better customer service. Where are we at in that arena?
Going electronic on something?
Yeah, right. So if I want to jump on the city's website and I want to pay for a permit or what, that we have that interface where the public can do that. Again, saving the public time, saving city staff time. I know we'd had that conversation. So this is kind of in the same genre.
I don't have an update on that right now. We can bring something back on that though.
And then just a comment real quickly. What we get as a city council, when we look at the agenda, when it goes online, the public notification, 90% of everything that I know about what's going on in here, this conversation, today's meeting, contracts, all of that is already available to the public. And I think we probably need to do a better job of informing the public that a lot of that documentation is readily available on the city's website, and that there's not necessarily a need to, unless they're looking for like my email or the mayor's email, those kinds of things obviously are also available for that public records request, but much of that documentation is readily available, and I think sometimes that people aren't necessarily aware of that. That might save some time too if we do a better job of giving people direction or information as to how to garner that data that they're looking for. Thank you.
Just so I can add, the talk about the fire permits and being able to do certain permits over digitally or through the computer, that was pre-Brian, so
yeah,
that was a while ago.
It was.
No, I know we've talked about going electronic with a lot of our, but we'll bring an update back.
All right.
Okay.
Motion.
Yeah, I was going to entertain a motion.
approve the
We have Councilman Goodson first before we do the
Sorry,
vote.
Councilwoman Goodson.
Mr. Huber,
Yes.
my question is, who would be inputting that data, the keywords to be redacted? Would that be you or
No, it would actually be
city clerk?
It would actually be the city clerk. Well, it depends on who's looking at it. So, for example,
And if it's confidentiality?
in some instances, it'll be the city clerk. I imagine the majority of those will be the city clerk. In some instances, it might be me or someone from my staff. Currently, we've got paralegals that do this, and quite honestly, we've got some other individuals in our firm that we've hired for this very purpose because we found we were able to do it at a far reduced rate. But you're still spending a lot of money that doesn't need to be spent. And quite honestly, I'm happy to not charge the city to do this. There's so many other,
Yeah.
to use the Salmon Festival term, bigger fish to fry than this kind of thing. And to automate this as much as possible is just makes complete sense.
Absolutely. Thank you for answering that question.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the contract with NextQuest and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Thank you all. Item number 5 is a task order number 1 with Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency for preliminary work associated with the Feather River levee certification. Who has this one?
I'll do that one as well.
Okay.
So this is the item before you is task order 1 with Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency, otherwise known as SBUFCA. Just real quick background on this component of this, because I know this has been brought before the council on a number of occasions. I know SBUFCA presented back, I think, in January. We brought them back again, an MOU back in August. But real briefly, the levee that we're talking about here is the southern portion of the levee that goes from Table Mountain down and ties into Highway 70. It's approximately 1.1, 1.2 miles in length. It was built in the early 1900s. With that, then we have, in 1968, the Oroville Dam was built just 5 miles up the river. A high-level assessment of this levee was conducted back in, I want to say, early 2012 or 13, but it was completed in 2015 and brought before the council in October of 2015. This high-level assessment had a number of recommendations that were suggested to the city in order to help mitigate future flood risk management. For example, just a few of them to name them, 3 of them off: boring samples to assess the structural stability of the levee, encroachment studies. There's a number of structures that are actually attached or very close to the levee, so encroachment studies to analyze the impacts of those structures, drainage studies. So there was a number of items that were recommended. The city entered into agreement with SBUFCA back on August 1st, an MOU, just to provide technical assistance with managing the city's flood risks. SBUFCA, again, is there a JPA that was created in June of 2007 to address flood protection and reducing flood risks in Sutter Butte Basin. The current members within SBUFCA are Sutter County, Butte County, Yuba City, Live Oak, Gridley, Biggs, and a couple levee districts, Levee District 1 and Levee District number 9. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, requires that levees receive a 100-year flood certification. And it's basically they make their rounds periodically throughout the United States, and they assess areas where levees exist. And it's only a matter of time before FEMA, frankly, comes to Oroville and will do a similar assessment. This task order is very specific. It would allow SBUFCA to work with city staff to gather all the necessary documentation in order for them to apply for grant funding. If the idea here is apply for grant funding to address the number of issues that were recommended in the 2015 report, to really give us a better understanding of the structural integrity of the levee in order to attain that 100-year flood certification. It's for a very specific task, up to not to exceed $52,000. I know, I think Michael Bassetti is here from SBUFCA. If you have questions, or I can certainly answer or try to answer any questions as well. That concludes my report.
Council have any questions?
I have.
Sure. Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah, so I have some observations with this particular item that I think that are important. As we are working toward developing better relationships with our various partners, the county, Feather River Parks District, and other agencies, it came to my attention actually today in a meeting that I was having with Feather River Parks District and their new general manager, Chris Wagner, who has actually quite a bit of experience in this realm in his other employment prior to coming on board with Feather River Parks District. And he was sharing with me, as you know, they're responsible for the trail from along on the levee, and they were getting ready to conduct some work there, some trail enhancement. They were going to actually be reaching out to Mr. Mayo with Public Works, and so there was a lot of things in the grinder with them. And in my conversation, it became quite clear that they weren't aware of this. And so I think that, again, for faith building and developing those partnerships, in particular with Feather River Parks District, I would like to postpone this until the next council. I was reviewing and looking for grants. Of course, there's tons of grants out there, and it looks to me like any kind of mitigating grants that we might be able to get if, reading the newspaper, there was, I think, kind of a misnomer in that the levee has a problem. We don't know if it has a problem. That's part of what we're looking for. It might have a problem. It might be great. We don't know. But it doesn't look like postponing this for a couple of weeks and inviting Feather River Parks District. And I asked the general manager and actually one of their board members, would they feel comfortable with me expressing this tonight? And I was given an affirmative. But I think it's important to invite our partners to have that participation and communication moving forward. So I'm personally not prepared to say yes to this, because I just, as a good faith measure, reaching out to our local partners, because I would like to have their input. I think it's important. And in particular, they're getting ready to do a paving project. So just for a hypothetical, they're repaving that trail, and then we have this project moving forward, and they say, but now you've got to remove all of that good work because this needs to be done. And it kind of goes back to discussions we've had in the past about, making sure that we're connecting with other agencies, whether it's South Feather Water and Power, where they have to do a repair of a pipe or do new piping on a street. And then we just 3 months prior had just done a repaving project. So now you blow up the street, and now you have water encroachment and all kinds of issues. So I just think it's just a good faith measure, and I can't see, unless someone can prove me wrong, and that's possible, but I don't see that a delay of a couple of weeks to the next council meeting. Meanwhile, staff reach out to Feather River Parks District and invite them in to have some input on the scope and the overall process moving forward. I think I've said enough. So that's just my position on this
Just
at the moment.
if I can just really quickly provide some clarity in case I miscommunicate anything. So this wouldn't be to start tearing up anything or doing any work. This would be to apply for grant funding, and then we'd obviously, whenever the work is being done, we certainly would make sure we coordinate with all the jurisdictions. And I did want to just note, in talking with Sabufka, and I'll let them respond about it, I believe there is one grant that is due in October that we were considering, hoping to apply for. So I just did want to put that on the radar as well.
And just to be clear, also they can do that too. So as far as the whole grant dynamic, or engage in that. So, but I would be interested in hearing what grant we're talking about in October. That's due.
Come on up. I'll let Councilman Riggs ask her question while you're getting ready. Go ahead.
It's okay. He actually might address it.
Okay. Welcome, Michael. There you go. You're on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and members of the council. So to address the Vice Mayor's comment, and to follow up on what your city administrator just said, this first task order is just to provide seed funding for myself and my staff to go after grants to follow up on all the recommendations that the HDR engineering provided to the city back in 2015. So I don't know if the Parks Department could follow up with the U.S. Army Corps, Department of Water Resources to advance this type of project. We certainly wouldn't be tearing up any new asphalt trail that's recently paved along the levee as we advance work into the future. But it's going to take us time just to wrap our arms around identifying grants, going after them, and putting that effort in. Now, what the city administrator just mentioned was there is a federal grant through the U.S. Army Corps that we have to submit on this month, if possible, to apply for that. There's a cutoff, and I think it's the 15th or maybe it's the 20th or something like that. or else we'd miss out on that opportunity. That could potentially bring in the Army Corps to help conduct a feasibility study, invest a lot of federal money to analyze the levee and determine what needs to be done into the future to be able to certify the levee. So that's all I want to say on it. I mean, it's not, we would miss out on that grant opportunity if it was delayed to the next council meeting, but it's not the end of the world. We'll look after other grants out there.
Councilman Riggs?
Thank you. I was just going to share, because, in my opinion, because this is a task order, that we could move forward on it, and then upon meeting with Feather River and bringing in more of our partners, which I do agree is a valuable component that we need to address, there is always going to be additional task orders or changes to task orders, and that I would rather see us move forward, be able to apply for that grant that you spoke to. And know that, we're also going to bring our partners in. We should have done that sooner, but we could rectify that now. And as we rectify that, expect additional task orders to address the things that are brought by our partners.
Okay, any other council members? Well, I would agree with her because the 2015 report had some issues that have never been addressed by the city. And it's time that we start addressing all those issues because the levee that's there was built in 1913 and it's not been touched since then. And certainly we can coordinate with anyone along the river, but the city, I think, has got to take the lead now, and certainly Rec District can be a part of the grant process if they so choose. But I think we need to move forward with it, and it's just a task order. It's nothing more than that. Anything else that you folks find, you're going to be bringing back to us anyway, and especially if it's going to be any work on the levee, certainly that work would be coordinated with any agency along the river, because we've got probably the most regulated river in the state on the west of the Mississippi in terms of fishing, game, state parks. I mean, the DWR. There's more regulation in this section of the river than you can imagine. So I think it's important, and I certainly want to work with Rec District, but I don't think we should delay it at all. Any other questions or comments? I'd entertain a motion.
I motion that we approve task order 1.
I'll second that.
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes with 5 yeses and 2 nos.
Thank you all. And next item, where are we at? We don't have any public hearings. And public communication hearing of non-agenda items is the second request. If someone didn't make it for the beginning, they can do a non-agenda item now. Seeing none, we have future agenda items. Any council have a future agenda item they'd like to raise, have open discussion on? I will comment on the correspondence. It's a letter from first responder giving us notice that Enloe is going to be taking over and purchasing first responder, which is basically the ambulance service throughout our community. I want to thank Mr. Ring. He contacted them and asked, is that going to change any of our service level here in the community? And what was their response?
Yeah, there's no changes at this time.
Okay.
They're going to honor the contract that was in place.
And it affects about 92 people that work for first responder ambulance service, and normally they have 3 or 4 cars working in the Oroville area, so it's really a big service in our community. So we'll look forward to that happening. With no other comments, no hands raised, I would say that we move to adjourn this meeting. The meeting will be adjourned to the regular meeting of the Oroville City Council be held on October 17th, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. Thank you all.
Amen.
We're done.
Excellent. Good meeting.